Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is March the 31st, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Monday to ya. Hopefully, you got that lasagna today. Hopefully, it was yummy. As for me, I would say I got a slice. It was good. Things were meowing. Work was it was solid. Actually, a good mix of slow, yeah, just slow and kind of hanging out a little bit, then getting a little bit of work done. It was a good vibe. Then we went to the gym, lifted some weights, sweated out on some cardio, the usual. So that was good. Sorry, I think I raised my voice there a little bit. But yeah, that was a good part of my day. So that into that, I will say, the snag for sure was I woke up so tired, which is annoying because I got a good amount of sleep. I got a nap in yesterday. I went to bed, I think even like a little bit earlier than my usual bedtime, and pretty much stayed down, which is, kind of hard for me to do usually for my sleep routine. So I woke up thinking like, okay, I'm going to be good to go. And it just felt like I couldn't wake up till like around noon. So I was just slogging through the day, drinking all the coffee I could. But then we rallied, and everything was airy, everything was good. But yeah, overall, I would say today was good. It was lasagna. But yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup, and we'll get into some news. Hopefully, that sounds good to you. Ooh, okie dokie. Our first story, comes from The Guardian. Red Cross Federation outraged at deaths of Red Crescent medics in Gaza. The Red Cross Federation voiced outrage on Sunday after 8 medical colleagues were killed while on duty in the Gaza Strip. The world's largest humanitarian network said in a statement, the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, or the IFRC, is outraged at the deaths of 8 medics from PRCS, Palestine Red Crescent Society, killed on duty in Gaza. The IFRC said the bodies were retrieved after 7 days of silence and of having access denied to the area of Rafah where they were last seen. It said it was the single most deadly attack on its colleagues anywhere in the world since 2017. Israel's military admitted on Saturday that it had fired on ambulances in Gaza and the Gaza Strip after identifying them as suspicious vehicles, with Hamas condemning it as a war crime. So, I mean, this is a story that sadly we have heard before. It is not a new thing out of the IDF playbook to move in this way and then to say, okay, well, we're going to do an investigation on it, and then we're just going to shrug, and that'll be that, even though this is a war crime. Let me see if there's anything else I really wanted to pull from here. The Palestine Red Crescent Society, or the PRCS, said earlier on Sunday it had recovered the bodies of the medics killed a week ago, and that they were found along with those of 6 members of Gaza's Civil Defense Agency and 1 UN agency employee. 1 Red Crescent ambulance officer remains missing. On Saturday, the IDF said in a statement to Agence France Presse, I'm going to say Presse, that Israeli troops had opened fire towards Hamas vehicles and eliminated several Hamas terrorists, which is another line that they fall back on, is saying like, oh, well, we thought it was Hamas, so it was Hamas. Like, these guys were terrorists, or they were aiding and abetting terrorists. So it gives us wanton abandon, a license to kill these people, and we don't feel bad. It's fine. Which is a crazy way to live and think and conduct your day to day as a human being, as a nation state. But here we are. And I mean, I say that from, the U.S., where we are actively condoning and supporting it. So yeah, that fucking sucks. But yeah, let's move on to another part of this. A thing that I'd failed to mention, there's no kind of about it there, last week, but I just wanted to mention it from just kind of reading a bit of the headline. Or at least a part of this article, I should say. Separate Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip have killed 2 media workers, including an Al Jazeera journalist, Hassam Shabat. A journalist who worked for Al Jazeera Mubashir was killed in northern Gaza on Monday. Witnesses told the network that his car was targeted in the eastern part of Bet Lahia. And that was from an Al Jazeera article. Let me read the headline. Al Jazeera journalist Hassam Shabat killed in Israeli attack on Gaza. So, that was something where, once again, they are really not claiming any real responsibility on it. They're just kind of shrugging their shoulders and saying, yeah, we're conducting business as usual. What of it? Even though, once again, that is another war crime. That is something that it's like, this is a member of the press, just like in the situation with the Red Crescent, that was a person who was doing aid work. It was doing, service, potentially someone who's like a medic, like any and all of these situations that we're talking about here, we've talked about in the past. It's like, these are just egregious violations, but it's all condoned and it's all okay, at least by us in the U.S. I mean, the world at large, many countries are like, no, this is fucked up. This is evil. This is terrible. But, not in any kind of way to stop it. But anyway, let's move on to another story. We're taking it to Lithuania. We got an update from USA Today. 3 missing U.S. Army soldiers found dead in Lithuania. 3 of 4 U.S. Army soldiers were found dead in Lithuania nearly a week after they went missing when their armored vehicle sank into a peat bog during a training mission, officials said on Monday. The Army said, and also we're back on this Monday, so I know I just said Monday for last week for that last thing we just mentioned. Sorry. The Army said the missing 63-ton M88 Hercules vehicle was pulled out of the bog early Monday morning, using excavators, pumps, and other construction equipment. Meanwhile, the search and recovery for a 4th soldier continues, officials said. The soldiers' names have not been released. So the fact that they're saying recovery and not rescue, that's a key word. I don't know. I felt like when we initially did cover this, I didn't want to jump to conclusions or speculate. But yeah, I guess given the situation, there was some kind of training error, and these guys wound up, I guess you could say, in like a tits up situation in a peat bog, and that's not good. Maybe it's not a tits up situation. I feel like you could say that. I don't know. I never went to war. I've never been in the Army, but yes, obviously this is sad. This is unfortunate. I'll definitely be back with an update on the 4th soldier. If I hear anything. There's more details, but that's details, and then more details. Let's go ahead and move along. From the Associated Press, the AP. Trump administration says it deported 17 more violent criminals to El Salvador. Definitely important to note the quotations there. The Trump administration said Monday that it has deported 17 more violent criminals from the Tren de Aragua and MS-13 gangs to El Salvador, as it doubles down on a policy of removing people from the U.S. to countries other than their own, despite criticism over lack of transparency and human rights issues. The State Department said the immigrants were removed Sunday night. The statement said murderers and rapists were among them, but didn't give details of the nationalities or alleged crimes of those removed. The office of El Salvador President Nayib Bukele, however, said Salvadorians and Venezuelans were among the prisoners. Those criminals will no longer terrorize our communities and citizens, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said in a statement. Once again, we extend our gratitude to President Bukele and the government of El Salvador for their unparalleled partnership. Once again, this is a situation where you are pretty much taking people and saying, hey, we're scooping you up. We're calling you all gang members. You're all gang terrorists or whatever. And we're sending you to El Salvador. There's no real trial here or any kind of like proof or confirmation. They're just telling us this. In the situation where almost 300 people were taken to this El Salvadorian prison, stripped, change their clothes, all this other, like shave their heads, abuse these people. All of this, this is just so frustrating. It's just so frustrating that we are just doing this live every day. And you'll have a judge say, oh, okay, you can't do this. Stop. But then he's like, okay, we'll listen. And then they don't. They talk shit and they just do it again. Sorry, I know I'm just record skipping here, but this shit it's infuriating. Let me just get to the script. The men were flown to El Salvador by the U.S. military, the State Department said. As seen in the video from the Salvadorian government, they were transported by bus to El Salvador's maximum security prison, changed into prison standard white t-shirts and shorts, and had their heads shaven. They were walked by the guards into a cell block, the video shows, and some of them were made to kneel upon the floor with their wrists cuffed behind their backs and ankles shackled. Guards put one or both hands on the men's necks and forced them to walk quickly, while bent at the waist and shackled with their heads down. Some men in the video grunted with exertion, and one appeared to vomit on the floor while listening to instructions. We're doing something that is subhuman to these people, and just saying like, hey, we're beating crime back. We're getting rid of all these illegal migrants, and we're making America greater. We're making America great again. Like, this is a notion that people are just eating up here, and it's insane to me. So yeah, I mean, they kind of go through, a little bit of the, catch you back up, if you missed on the whole thing with, how we got here, where we're saying, hey, we're shipping out gang members with the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. We talked about that though in a previous episode, and obviously you could just reread it. But yeah, I mean, once again, fuck this administration, fuck Marco Rubio, fuck Donald Trump. God damn. Yeah. Anyway, let's close out. We have one more thing, and I saved the best for last today, y'all. We talked about some sad, very unfortunate things. But hey, I have some good news. I mean, at least good news to me. I enjoy it. If you are not a conservative enjoyer, then I think you're gonna like what I'm serving up here. And we've talked about Le Pen, but anyway. News incoming. Anyway, let's go ahead and take our last break, and then we'll close this out. I need a little pick me up. Oh, also, I think where I was trying to get to before, like I said, my brain skipped. I do believe a judge stopped the injunction. He's like, hey, you're not supposed to do this. You have to stop. But once again, it played out the same way as it did before, where he's like, okay, well. So once again, clearly we're just in the same situation again, and we will probably be here again because this administration is just going to play by their own rules and, ask for permission later after they've already done the things. But anyway. From Politico. Marine Le Pen barred from running for French president. Marine Le Pen's plans to run for the French presidency in 2027 were dealt a likely fatal blow Monday after she was found guilty of embezzling European Parliament funds and deemed ineligible to stand in elections for the next 5 years. given surging support for her far-right National Rally Party in 2027 was had widely been seen as a potential breakthrough moment for her populist anti-migration agenda, and several polls put her as a strong contender to succeed Emmanuel Macron in the Elise Palais. I think I said that right. I think I said Elise Palais correctly. Anyway, sorry. The decision would appear to open the door for Jordan Bardella, the National Rally president and Le Pen's heir apparent, to become the flag bearer for the far right and run for the presidency. So this is nothing but good news, if you ask me. I am a Le Pen hater. Boo her dad, who is gone. Rest in peace. And then boo her, because she's a piece of shit. And essentially, her and some cronies we can just go ahead and read a little further. Le Pen and 24 other co-defendants were accused of illicitly siphoning European Parliament funds to pay for party employees who seldom or never dealt with affairs in Brussels or Strasbourg. The court estimated that the accused had over 12 years embezzled more than 4 million euros, 474,000 euros, of which Le Pen was held personally responsible for as an MEP. All but one of them, an accountant, were found guilty and handed a mix of fines, ineligibility bans, and suspended prison sentences. The National Rally Party was also found guilty and handed a 2 million euro fine, though that can be reduced to 1 million euros if it does not repeat the crime. What is the time frame there for that? Like, okay, we just won't do any embezzlement for X amount of years, and then what? We only have to pay the 1 million? Maybe by the time you pay the 1 million? I don't know. Fuck this shit. That's weird. But anyway, the harshest punishment was reserved for Le Pen, as she was convicted of criminal activity, both as a former MEP and then running it as party's ex-president. Prosecutors took the extraordinary step of asking the 3-judge panel presiding over the case to immediately enact Le Pen's ban on running for office rather than wait until the appeals process has concluded, which is the norm in France. The judges agreed, citing the gravity of Le Pen's crime. They also fined her 100,000 euros and sentenced to 4 years in prison, 2 of which were suspended and 2 of which we served under house arrest. Those penalties will be delayed by an appeal, which Le Pen's lawyer confirmed would be filed. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people on the right and the center right internationally in France are kind of like, I can't believe this is happening. Democracy has failed. It's like, yeah, wait, no, stop. Because the person who is supposed to be like president of her party was embezzling money. So she was doing crimes, political crimes that should vet her out of, running for president. Now, I can understand the fact that they expedited this as something that it's like, oh, well, you're trying to railroad her. You're trying to stop her because with the appeals process and everything, if it wasn't dated for right now, maybe she could stall this out. Yeah, maybe pull something like Donald Trump did, like I like quick decision. I don't like the idea. Like, if you're going to I know I haven't brought this conversation out in a while, but dust it off the shelf. If you're going to play team sports and you see one team's playing hard, doesn't it suck to see all the other teams and the team that you might be a party to or root for just lay down and say, nah, we're trying to do the right thing and talk about the time, like doing the right thing, abiding by a constitution. And meanwhile, they're getting lobbied to shit. They're only worried about themselves. They're not worried about you. They're playing the same goddamn game and playing you to your face. So it's nice to see some quick decision and people saying, no, you did a political crime. You did all this fucking crime. You're cooked. It's over for that. You can't run. You're done. So I like the gate getting closed on her. I'm hyped for it. Like I said, this was a tasty little morsel. That being said, Bardella, whatever the fuck his name is. He's boring as fuck to me. Anyway, we've talked about him before. He's younger and equally as annoying. So, I mean, it's not like I really want to see this guy around more and potentially in power. And that being said, I'm sure this doesn't really sway the people against the party, like this verdict or anything like this. I'm sure they would just call it like, oh no, this is just the government out to get, the future president. Like they're looking at it like it's a coup, I bet. So I'm sure somehow this is even going to boost the numbers for the national rally. So in that regard, it's a loss, probably at a bird's eye view, if I'm being honest. But like, hey, fuck her. Boo this woman. I'm sorry. Boo all these people involved. Like, nah, man, this is not how you get your bag, bro. Like, it's just, it's you can't do it. It's corruption, baby. You shouldn't do it. I'm rooting for against you. I'm rooting for you to get caught. In that regard, I don't care what ideology you have. I don't care what party you're in. Like, it's not, nah, you took money out of people's fucking hand at the end of the day. Or like, food out of their mouth one way or another. I don't like that. It's fucked up. So even though it is fun to cover, I love a good Bob Menendez story. There's gold where in your closet? Anyway. That's it for today. I know today was a little bit wonky, but it's Monday. I gotta shake off the rust. It's my first day back after my 3-day weekend. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed yourself. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. We're wrapping up the month. It's the end of the month. They didn't make a song about that. Bone Thugs should come back and make a song about the end of the month. Anyway, sorry. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, become a newsie today. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. We're doing shout outs, roll call tomorrow. Get on there. I can shout you out. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any other socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple for the podcast, Apple Podcast. Yeah. Hit the like, leave a cool comment. Sharing's caring. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.